So my part, I wanted to focus mainly the last 24 hours of Jesus' life. To me, those 24 hours, there are three major points, messages that I always think, if I could take those lessons from the last 24 hours of Jesus Christ, my life will be very, very different. Let's start from where Jesus, as Devashi said, came to Jerusalem his last week. And let's keep in mind that Jesus, as a great master, as an avatar, as an extremely magnetic speaker, for 3 years, he lectured all over around and attracted many, many followers, especially his 12 disciples. But just think about how much magnetism Jesus had to almost even divide the city, where many, many more people started following him and rejected a little bit more what the priests were saying. So we have this energy of Jesus coming into the city, who he's being worshipped, who he has been like people are like in awe with Jesus. And Jesus knew this was his last week, and especially the last supper that he had with his disciples. That was it was like a turning point in his life. So he knows this is going to be the last time he's going to speak and give instructions and messages and guidance to some of his disciples. As many of us know, Jesus spoke in parables, which many of his disciples understood only years later what Jesus meant. So here we are in the Last Supper, Jesus Christ with his 12 disciples, and he starts suddenly talking about drink my blood, eat my bread, and many of those things that his disciples were saying, what is my master saying? What he means with all this? So he started talking, and at some point, Peter says to Jesus, Master, wherever you go, I'll follow you until the end. And Jesus looked at Peter and he says, you will deny me 3 times before dawn. Jesus knew exactly. And Peter, no, Master, I will follow you until the end. Jesus didn't say anything. Then he looks at Judas and he says to Judas, whatever you are about to do, go and do it quickly. Jesus knew what was about to happen. He was already setting into motion his own destiny. Supper ends at Jesus, and Jesus asks his disciples, let's go and meditate. Let's go and pray. Let's go and spend the night praying to God. Tomorrow is a big day. Let's gather together on our last time. All of them go to the mountain of Gethsemane and they start praying. Jesus goes a little bit farther and creates his own space where he could start aligning himself with his own destiny. He started praying to God, and we have the famous dialogue that Jesus has with God when he's in the middle of his fervent prayer, trying to understand what's about to happen. And Jesus says to the Lord, Lord, let this cup pass from me. Which we can see in his prayer, that human aspect that each one of us have whenever we have to face a taste, whenever we have to face our own karma and we don't like it and we want to refuse it and we want to push it aside. What do we do? Please, Lord, please, God, take it away. I don't know if I will be able to face it. Take it away. And for us, sometimes it takes months to really accept the karma that come to us. We are talking here a few seconds that Jesus, for a few seconds, brought out his human aspect and said, God, let this cup pass from me. But suddenly he comes back to his center, to the point between the eyebrows, and he says, nevertheless, thy will be done. Whatever it is, whatever you are sending me, in the way you want to end my life, I'm going to represent you until the end. I'm going to move forward with that spirit because I know that's your will for me. Jesus spends most of his time in prayer. When he ends that prayer, he's infused with that power, with that courage to face his own destiny. He comes out of his prayer, and soon after, maybe a few minutes after, he sees Judas, followed by a lot of priests and soldiers. And Judas goes straight to Jesus, and he kisses him on his cheek so he could be identified. And what happened here, to me, is like a turning point. I mean, like, it's so powerful. In the Bible says that when Judas kisses Jesus, Jesus stepped forward to those priests and soldiers and asked, who are you looking for? And the soldier says, we are looking for Jesus the Nazareth. And Jesus said, I am here. I am the one that you are looking for. How Jesus steps into his destiny, into his own death, to me, it's impressive. If I could step in my own karma, in my own obstacles, in my own issues, with the same energy, I'm sure I wouldn't suffer that much. Because whatever needs to come to us is going to come. We cannot put it aside. We have to face it. And how we face it, it's what makes the difference. It's what changes the destiny of our life. Jesus, I'm here. I'm Jesus of Nazareth. Take me. I'm responsible. But let my disciples go. They don't have anything to do with this. I'm the one you are looking for. They take Jesus to court. He's been tried, convicted, and sentenced to death by crucifixion. Let's go now to the next phase of Jesus' last few hours. They stripped him. He's beaten with a whip. and they put a crown of thorns on his head. We are talking of someone who has the power to destroy a city, to make miracles, to change the destiny of his life. We are not talking about you, me, or even a saint. We are talking of someone who can perform miracles and change everything he wants. And here we have him, like going through a hell that he had to go through, and his consciousness was completely held in God's presence within himself. He was beaten up, he was insulted, he was humiliated. People, where they were beating him with a whip, they were laughing at him. I mean, imagine the scene with someone that his whole life has been like talking about God. And that's the moment when his life became his true message. When I have to face something, and I'm not only talking about how I feel God's presence in my life. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like when I'm being treated like that, and where I feel inwardly. Soon after, they put the crown of thorns. They put him a heavy, extremely heavy cross. And they ask him, okay, let's walk through the city, because there are many people who want to mock at him. So let's have him walking through the city with this heavy cross and go to the top of the hill where he's going to be crucified. So imagine the scene. Many of his disciples were not even there because they were so afraid that they also could be caught up. So there we have Jesus with all that he had to go through, with a heavy cross, starting to walk through the streets of Nazareth by himself. The only 3 people who could follow him, and amongst the multitude, not even by his side, were his own mother. Imagine for a mother to see such a scene. His own mother, Mary Magdalene, and another disciple. Even though they want to walk with him, they were pushing aside, and they were even covered. Because Jesus didn't want for them to be recognized. So we have Jesus walking through the street, people throwing him stones, splitting him. You who you think you were the Messiah, look at you where you are. Jesus, imagine the kind of consciousness, God's consciousness, Jesus had to have to go through that sin and being untouched, because he knew this was God's will. And if God is asking me to go through this, it's because it's the right thing. And I'm not going even for a second to ask not to be going through this. So he walks through the streets of Jerusalem. That is a very, very very powerful for me, because it says in the Bible that Jesus, when he was walking, he fell twice. So he fell once, then he stood up again, then he kept walking again, and then he fell once more. Which has kept me thinking how many times I feel that I can't take it anymore. I don't want to be burdened with what I have to deal with. And I wish, I feel like I have so much weight, like I feel like I'm just falling apart. And sometimes there is nothing big outside, it's within me. Like, I just can't take it anymore. And I'm going through 1% of what Jesus went through. Jesus stood up the second time. I can do this for my Father. He walked to the top of the hill, and they are about to crucify him. I know it's very intense, but I want for us to feel that intensity, because it's not a joke what this master did. Really, just every step he took is a lesson for us. And if how he made it, if I integrate that into my life, I know I can become a master of my own life. And I'm working towards it. And just only by contemplating his life, it gives me a lot of hope. It gives me a lot of hope, but also makes me realize that it's not easy. Because God is going to ask of us. Sometimes even our own life. Are you willing to give me your own life? It's a serious thing. So there we have Jesus Christ. He's going to be crucified with people around him still, laughing, you the Messiah. Really, really nasty scene. Then how worse can it get? Suddenly the sky becomes gray. It starts pouring, raining and thunder. How bad the scene can really get. You can see that there is something really going on. Like there is something energetically huge happening here. And then we come to the next phase of Jesus, one of the most incredible teachings that he came, the last moment of his life. There we have Jesus on the cross, like after barely being able even to breathe, because he's about to die. This is his destiny. He has been talking about God for years, and then now he's being tested to the end, just to see where his consciousness is. Jesus, he only says 2 sentences before he dies. And let's also remember that he's not even by himself. He's placed among 2 thieves. It's like people don't give him even the dignity to be crucified even by himself or next to somebody else. Just 2 thieves, which are the worst of society. So there we have Jesus, 1 thief to one side, 1 thief to the other side, people laughing at him. None of his disciples are there. Only his mother, which is in pain, suffering, like perhaps even wondering, doubting, God, how can you do this to my son? Who knows what goes through each one of us in those moments. His only 2 words that Jesus says, Father, forgive them. All of them, forgive them. Because they don't know what they do. They don't know who I am. They don't know who you are. They don't understand anything of what's going on. Please forgive them. I'm not able to say that. Someone does this to me. Sometimes I hold it for days. And I'm not able to let it go. Father, forgive them because they don't know what to do. And the last sentence, he said, Father, in thy hands I command my spirit. I give myself, I put all that I am, I put myself into thy hands. How freely that kind of consciousness must be. I mean, I'm only talking about it. I'm not able even to grasp really how Jesus might have felt, the kind of consciousness. I mean, I'm trying to convey a kind of consciousness that I don't even know really how it feels, honestly. But I would like to give a taste that perhaps how it will feel. You know, when you go through all that you go through, and there you so freely, there is nothing that bothers you, nothing that pulls you down, nothing, no regret, nothing. You are one with God. And the only thing that you have to say, I'm yours. I'm fully yours. My mission is done. Jesus dies. Imagine those 3 days for his own disciples wondering, now we feel orphan, our master, our guru is not with us anymore. Whom are we going to follow? He has not given us any instructions. What are we going to do now with his teachings, with his message? What are we going to do? Are we also going to be persecuted? Are we also going to be crucified? I mean, imagine the agony. They couldn't be even together, supporting each other, because they were going to be persecuted, so they were in different parts of the city. They had to be distributed. On the 3rd day, Jesus appears to Mary Magdalene. The first disciple, he appears. And to me, just only whenever she said it, struck me that to me is very symbolic. What I feel, and perhaps, more intuition will come in the years to come when I think more about Jesus' teachings and how he, his life unfolded. When Jesus appeared to Mary Magdalene, wasn't just because she was perhaps his most advanced woman disciple. Feminine energy has something to do with intuition and inner feelings that is in each one of us, the yin and yang energy, masculine and feminine energy. That energy is in each one of us. But for some reason, it's just the feminine energy. When the feelings become really, really, really interiorized and refined, when there is no emotion, then is when true intuition and perception comes. And for many of us, sometimes we are able even to feel things before they happen, to feel things, it's an intuition. You just know from within. And that is in each one of us. But Mary Magdalene represents that calmed, interiorized feeling where you can see Christ, when you can perceive his presence, where he can come to you and tell you, don't worry about anything. I'm alive. I'm with you. I'm going to help all of you to figure out what's next. I'm alive. I'm in my Father's hands, where there is eternal joy and eternal peace, eternal freedom. And Jesus resurrects after the 3 days. And I'm going to end with this. Because if we just see very briefly his life, his last 24 hours, 3 major things happened. And to me are the 3 major lessons that I hope I keep remind myself to really make of my life a worthy life. First of all, to really accept God's will in my life. To accept my own karma, to take full responsibility of my own karma, because I have been creating karma for who knows how many incarnations. And to accept it and to deal with it and say, yes, I'm ready to face it. Thy will be done. If you are with me, I know it's going to be a success. I will face it. The second lesson in my life, it doesn't matter how people treat me, what they think about me, whether if I'm recognized or not, whether if I'm acknowledged, whether if people laugh at me. I don't care. I need to love you. I need to love me. I need to love everyone, because in the same way God is within me, is also within you. And if you do something to me, I need to forgive you. There is no way out. I need to forgive you. If he did, I can also do it. And the third and last lesson and teaching, when he resurrects, is a message for all of us, that no matter for how much pain and sorrow and suffering we go through in life, at the end, life really is a dream. And everything will pass, and we'll come out at the other end of the river, when we'll come to the other end, God's consciousness, where there is eternal happiness, eternal love, and eternal freedom. God bless you.